Yes, welcome into Sports Bit. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy Weekend Preview Edition. Big game breakdown, Game 4 NBA Finals. Can the Warriors go 16-0 and make history? Also, we'll get to the Cincinnati Bengals AFC North preview comes up in the deep dive and the play of the day. Good story locally about the SuperContest. We'll get to LV's Superbook in a second. Bad beats bad bets, bad for the books. Brewers took a lot of money. Bad bet, 25-cent move. Plus 125, went off as even. They rallied in the ninth to tie it. Had the winning run on third, couldn't push it across. Giants win 9-5 in extras.
Yeah, I mean, a blown save for San Fran, and all that Milwaukee money still doesn't cash. The San Fran, 4 runs in the 10th. Jacob Barnes, he faced 5 batters out of the bullpen. He gave up a hit to all 5 of the batters that he faced. Brewers' pen lets them down after San Fran's pen let them down. Milwaukee, all that money, 25-cent move, that was a bad bet.
60-cent move on Fulmer and the Tigers, a day game up to $2. Fulmer had a 4-1 lead. Tigers bullpen got involved. Gasoline on the fire there. Angels blow him out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Fulmer entered the game, what was he, 6-3 with an ERA of 3. He got a ton of public support. He got a ton of wise guy support. And he had an early 4-1 lead, as you mentioned. Really bad beat for first 5 bettors. You know, if you're betting the Tigers in the first 5, they're up 4-1 top of the 5th. And then 4 LA runs, the last of which came on a Justin Upton error. That's the one that beat you. The Angels, 15 hits, 3 different players getting 3 hits yesterday against both Fulmer and that struggling Tigers bullpen behind him.
Bad for the books. Look at this. Stanley Cup Finals, Game 5, 30-cent move on the champs, $1.65 at home, and Penguins and the over gets there by themselves in the second period.
Yeah, and again, when you talk about the single event games, and a hockey bad result for the books is not like a Monday Night Football bad result for the books, or an NBA Finals bad result for the books, where, you know, they really take a beating and there's millions of dollars lost, you know, when you talk about Vegas and offshore combined. So the hockey doesn't generate that type of handle. But when you're talking about a 30-cent move, and it was bigger than that in some place. I mean, it opened as low as minus 135, closed. I mean, there were minus 170s out there at a handful of shops. So you talk about that type of move for a single event game in the NHL Finals. Yeah, that was a really bad result for the house, even though it wasn't like a Monday Night Football disaster or an NBA Finals disaster. Still wasn't good for any bookmaker here in Las Vegas.
Another one, 30-cent move on the Rays, $1.45 to minus 175 against the White Sox. The books don't know what to make of this team. 1-7 in their last 8, and they've been outscored by 31 runs.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago felt like they were living on borrowed time a little bit. They got off to a decent start in April. They're ice cold right now, and every single day money has been coming against the White Sox. And again, it's not a situation for bookmakers where they can adjust a money line and turn a winner into a loser the way they can with the point spread. If a team keeps covering point spreads, one day they're laying 8, next time they're laying 10, and then 12, and eventually the spread will catch up, and they'll still win the game, but they won't cover the number. Money lines in baseball, you can't do that. If they keep losing, they're going to keep losing. That's what's going on with the White Sox right now, and the bookmakers are having a very hard time keeping up with this slumping ball club. I would expect to see some type of adjustment, significant adjustment, over the course of the next few days, because that anti-White Sox money has been pretty significant over the course of the last week.
I got to give our stats guy some grief. The price numbers. How about bad bet too? The Red Sox price at Yankee Stadium with the Red Sox, horrible ERA, and they tagged him in that one too. Oh man, it was bad.
Well, it certainly wasn't a good result for our play of the day. But again, if you're gonna lose, there's 2 ways you can lose. There's more than there's a million ways you can lose, but in general, you can lose in agonizing fashion and be right and be, oh, you let it get away, or oh, we blew the save, and that takes years off your life. Or you can be dead wrong and say, all right, I got this one wrong, and you throw it in the garbage pan, and it doesn't take years off your life, you know.
That'll be a good discussion over lunch again. Our stat guy loves Price for some reason. Loves him. I don't get it. Here locally, the Westgate SuperContest continues to grow every year, and this year will be no different. A record 1,800 entries last year, 7th straight year. The number of entries has increased, and the SuperContest is adding a new higher-end competition, the SuperContest Gold. $5,000 to get in. I don't like this. Winner take all. I put the number at 32.5 for entries. Matt Humans and also Vegas Matty, who's a proxy out here for the Super Contest, expects that to go well over because some people were ticked off with the other contest that's $1,500 because they took out 8% last year, and people didn't like that, and because it's so big now, and you put 1,000 monkeys in a room, one of them will write Shakespeare.
Well, exactly, and I take the over 32.5 as well for that 5K contest for many of the reasons that you mentioned. And again, the differences between the two contests. You know, your standard Super Contest, $1,500 entry fee. The Super Contest Gold, $5,000 to enter. So it's a bigger contest. The second thing, 8%. Now, last year they started taking 8% off the top in the regular Super Contest, and it was long. I'm surprised that it took them that long to do it. The Super Contest Gold, no house take, so every dollar is returned. And, of course, in this regular Super Contest, the top 50 entries cash. In the Super Contest Gold, it is a winner-take-all. There's no tiebreakers. There's no bonuses, aggregate bonuses. And one last difference, you can have multiple entries in the regular Super Contest, only one entry per person in the Super Contest Gold. Jay Cornegay likes it. You know, quote, "We think Super Contest Gold has so much potential. It continues the tradition of the Super Contest, especially the format, but this seemed like a natural way to enhance it. The winner gets a custom Super Contest Gold championship ring as well. It's the ring that the guys are going to want, and that's why they're going to pay $5,000. But I'm with you on one thing, Pauly, 100%. I hate, don't dislike, I hate the concept of a winner-take-all prize. Yeah, hate it.
Yep, I think that's absurd. Also, they expect first place to be over $1 million for the first time. You try to get the moneymaker effect like poker. With Chris Moneymaker, you had a barista win it last year and a farmer finish in second. They need a Cousin Sal, a Bill Simmons, somebody like that to win if they can get up to 3,000, 4,000 entries. But the thing continues to grow as well, and the proxies have helped out too, as that word is spread all over. Well, I don't live in Nevada, so how do I get in? That's well documented now too, is you just pay these guys a fee to put your picks in for you every week.
Well, yeah. Just most of the time you pay a fee, but they'll also ask for a donation or tip of a percentage of winnings should they win, which can turn to be pretty substantial when you're talking about 5 or 10% off a first or second place or third place finish.
I talked to Vegas Matty on the radio show. He said he had to cut it out. It's too competitive now. How about that? Well, he did it. Yeah. In any event, up next, big game breakdown. Warriors go for the sweep, and the Cincinnati Bengals in the deep dive on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Time for big game breakdown. As always, live odds, SBR odds, and Sportsbook review rating guide. Check it out. Make sure you're betting with a trustworthy shop out there. Game 4 tonight. Warriors go for the sweep. 6.5. Jimmy Vaccaro told me if you see sevens, the pros will pop that one. 228 the total. Tyronn Lue says, let it fly. You have nothing to lose. Bombs away from 3. So the Cavs won't change what they're doing. Series price, Cavs 40-1. Warriors minus 20,000. Warriors 6 straight covers as well. And they're getting it done on the road too. So you're late to the party, I think, if you want the Warriors. But the public people, why not? Why not lay the 6.5? Because every time you bet the Warriors, you've been cashing. Here's they try to make it 7 in a row ATS, Teddy.
Well, I mean, the whole concept of betting 20,000 to win 100, you know, on Golden State right now. That's your bridge jumpers, as we call them. That being said, you win $100 because the Cavs ain't winning 4 in a row in this series. And so much to talk about when it comes to game number 4. But let's start with this tweet from John Shulman. Highest postseason plus-minus over the course of the last 20 years. And yeah, there they are. Curry, Green, Thompson, all of them in the highest postseason plus-minus over the last 20 years here in 2017. That, Pauly, is an impressive stat right there when we talk about Golden State from historical standpoint.
Told you on SportsBet how LeBron's wearing down late in these games. Again, look at the first half, second half splits. First half, 24 of 34, 64 points, 17 assists. Second half, 12 of 31, 32 points, 14 assists. Look at a plus-minus, minus 28 as well. Not to mention in Game 2 when Durant and LeBron were matched up against each other. LeBron didn't score, and Durant went to work on him, which also affects his defense big time. Now, second half of Game 3, Kyrie played the entire second half, and LeBron played 23 minutes and 26 seconds. Quote, "It's physically and emotionally draining because I give everything to the game and want to put myself and my teammates in a position to be successful. I laid on the floor and did that tonight, gave everything that I had both mentally and physically." Irving said the same thing. So I got quotes from the two-star players saying, hey, I put everything out there. Essentially, that's our best shot, and we still got beat. And the short turnaround here kills them.
Well, that's the key when you talk about the fact. Between Game 1 and Game 2, 3 days. Between Game 2 and Game 3, 3 days. Now, here's the Cleveland Cavaliers, who just, it wasn't a gut, I mean, KD shot, what would you call that? I mean, it's not even a gut punch. That's like a clock to the chin. You know, when KD hit that three and you heard it in the arena, you saw it in everyone's faces on the floor. That's a really tough thing to overcome, especially when you're talking about, you don't even have an extra day to come through with that level of energy. You know, Kyrie Irving, you talk about that quote. It's a great one. It hurts. Came down to the stretch, and they made some big-time plays. KD comes down, hits a big three, puts them up one. I'm human, as well as my teammates, and to lay it all on the line like that, you want to come out on the winning side. We gave great effort, and the result just didn't turn out the way we wanted it to. That's a problem for me from a quote standpoint. I don't want a team that's still thinking about what happened. I don't want a team that is facing an insurmountable deficit coming off a gut punch loss.
And remember, this is not breaking news, but it's not 2-3-2 anymore. So what's Cleveland's reward if they win? They go to Oakland Monday and probably get run out.
No doubt. And, of course, when you think about what can Tyronn Lue do, okay, what can he do in terms of matchups? All right, well, let's see. He's got an exhausted team. They're playing on relatively short rest. Can he sit LeBron James? No, you can't sit. Look at this.
No, you saw, hey, Teddy, you saw it in Game 3. He went to the bench late in the first quarter. It was a 10-0 run immediately.
Bingo, like that. Look at him for the series. He's been out for 19 minutes in this series, and Cleveland's minus 20. Look at that for comparison to Durant, who's going to win the MVP. He's been out for 25 minutes in this series. Golden State +9 with him off the floor. But, Tyronn Lue, in terms of making adjustments game to game, he hasn't figured out a way to get Tristan Thompson involved. He's been, of all the guys in the finals that have been no-shows for Cleveland, Thompson, to me, he's number one. He's played, close to 67 minutes. He scored 8 points and 11 rebounds, -37 with him on the floor. Love the quote from Charles Barkley. I'm a fat old dude. If they put me in an NBA game right now, I'd get 3 rebounds. Of course, talking about Tristan Thompson's 0 points and 3 rebounds in 23 minutes of play in game number 3.
You know, and they're saying the right things, too, because the Warriors still can play a lot better. Game 1, they missed 15 layups. Green didn't score till 1:28 left in the third quarter. Thompson was 3 of 16. Game 2, they had 20 turnovers. Game 3, Kerr's got some Mickey Mouse lineups out there. He's got Iguodala, McCaw, and Livingston on the floor at the same time in the third quarter. I don't know why Pachulia plays. He sat KD and Curry at the same time at the start of the second and the fourth quarters as well. But they also had some silly turnovers in Game 3. So, they can play better, too. Here's Kerr. It wasn't our smartest game that we played all year, but it was our toughest in terms of our ability to just hang in there. Curry, quote, we had a ton of energy and belief in each other on both ends of the floor down the stretch. Great feeling to kind of overcome their run. The crowd's energy and just find a way to win. Having a close game down the stretch, it's been a while. And that was a great feeling to kind of overcome, stick to it, and find a way to win. Listen, they stole one, too. It's 113-107 with 3 minutes left, and Cleveland doesn't score the rest of the game. So that's another way they played as well as they can and blew the game and still got beat. Not good enough, and now Golden State trying to get the brooms out.
Well, exactly. And this is a chance for the Warriors not just to close out the Cavs on the road, but to close out the all-time best NBA postseason run with a crescendo. And if you remember what they did when they went on setting the all-time record for regular season wins last year, okay, this team's historical. They realize that. This is a legacy game not for LeBron, but for the Golden State Warriors and the opportunity. You know, the Cavs are likely to do what they've been doing. They're going to jack up a bunch of threes, and if those shots are falling, maybe Golden State is in for a bit of a challenge. But if the Cavs fall behind in this one, I'm not convinced they're going to have the energy or the effort to fight their way back. And Golden State remembers what happened last year. Up 3-1, seemingly insurmountable, letting it get away. Maybe they've learned their lesson in that regard. We'll get back to this game when it comes to play of the day time.
Well, Green was suspended in Harrison Barnes, baby. Night and day without Harrison Barnes. Cincinnati Bengals, we didn't like them last year. The win total's 8.5. They're up next on the Deep Dive on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
What's up, everyone? I'm Drew Martin with SBR. Want to give you an update on a free handicapping contest that we're putting together. It's called the MLB June Bet Points Contest. The purse is 1,500 SBR bet points, which go to the top 5 finishers. The top 5 finishers also get an SBR t-shirt, and the winner of the contest can be featured on one of SBR's shows. I'm Drew Martin for SBR. Make sure to find it on the SBR tab on the SBR website. I'll see you in the contest.
Wrapping up on SportsBit Betting Insight today. Time for the Deep Dive. We continue the AFC North. Cincinnati Bengals, 8.5 wins, under -135. Last year, 6-9-1 straight up, 7-9 ATS, 10-6 to the under, 3-4 heading to the London game against Washington. Blew a late lead, ended up in a tie. 3-4-1 heading into the break, and lost 3 in a row after the bye. All hell broke loose. Not a pretty. They didn't end the season well as the wheels came off late, Teddy.
Well, it was actually their December wasn't bad. It was November. It was post-bye that everything fell apart. That 3-game skid. You know, they went at 3-4, and they had that Redskins game, and they had a decent schedule. They were favored in 2 of the 3 games they lost right after the bye. But the fact they didn't win any of those contests, 3-7-1 heading into December, and the rest of the season is garbage time for a squad that, again, people forget how consistently good the Bengals were under Andy Dalton. They made the playoffs each of the first 5 years in the league. Last year, the first year that it was garbage time by December, and much of that was schedule. A big reason why we didn't like Cincinnati last year was their schedule was brutal. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And they were riddled with injuries. The key guys, not the second-tier players, they lost a bunch of their stars for extended stretches last year that really cost them, and certainly in terms of their ability to run the offense that they were hoping to run.
Dangerous combination, Dalton and Lewis. Horrible. Never won a playoff game. Why is he still the coach? Mainstream stats, 20 takeaways, 17 giveaways, +3 turnover margin. Offense, 5.4 yards per play on offense. Average, 4 yards per rush. Below average, 7.5 yards per pass. That was 10th. 41 sacks allowed, near the bottom. Defense, 83.1 QB rating allowed. That was 5th. 33 sacks, league average, 4.4 yards per rush allowed, below average. I like Ross and love the Washington program, but that was taking them top 10. Jesus, calm down. Joe Mixon, a risky pick in the second round. I like the Willis pick out of Kansas State as well. Offensive line had a ton of issues, Teddy. What do you think of the O-line and the running game? They have weapons, though.
Well, that's just it. I mean, remember, prior to last year, one of the things we didn't like this team is they lost 2 huge weapons. There's a Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu, and they missed both guys last year. And then the running backs, Giovanni Bernard was banged up, and it really hasn't panned out for them. They've spent a lot of draft capital on running backs, and it certainly wasn't an area of strength for them last year. Again, you say what you want about a guy's character off the field. Joe Mixon, as a talented back, I thought it was a steal at number 48. And John Ross, what's the guy got? A 4.22 40. Those type of weapons, when you think about Green on one side, Tyler Eifert, and then Mixon, and then Ross, Andy Dalton's got some weapons to work with, but does he have an offensive line that can protect him? Again, they lost their 2 best offensive linemen in free agency, the left tackle Andrew Whitworth and the right guard Kevin Zeitler. And all of they were planning on this back in 2005. 2015, their top 2 picks were both on the offensive line, Abuchi and Fisher, and both those guys have basically stunk it up in the league. Fisher couldn't beat out Eric Winston Agbuti was pretty much a disaster at right tackle last season. And in the draft this year, the only lineman they picked was J.J. Dielman out of Utah, a fifth-rounder, a development guy. So coming into the season, from a skill position standpoint, this team's way better than they were last year. From an offensive line standpoint, on paper, they're a heck of a lot worse.
Got to protect him. When he's pressured, his QBR is 9.9. The only passer over that time frame with a worse QBR under pressure is the Sanchez, minimum 200 attempts. His career high at QBR was 106.3. Last year, 91.8. QB rating, whatever. A 6-year start, only missed 3 games in his career. So they have the weapons on offense. Ross, Green, and Eifert could be a tough combination, not to mention Mixon and Hill running the ball as well. Let's talk about the SOS.
Yeah, sure. Big drop-off from last year in terms of toughness. Last year, their schedule was brutal, and it was brutal early. Remember that stretch? I believe it started week 3. They had Pittsburgh and Denver and Miami and Dallas and New England, and a back-to-back. They only won one of those games, and that sent them spiraling downward. They were in the top quartile of the NFL in toughness last year. This year, below average toughness, and from a strength of schedule standpoint, it is the single easiest schedule in the division. From that standpoint, Cincinnati has it a lot easier in 2017 than they did in 2016.
I'm looking at late November where they can make some noise. Cleveland at home, Pittsburgh at home is tough. Then Chicago, Minnesota, Detroit, and Baltimore. That is doable if they get off to a good start.
Yeah, I mean, this Bengals team, we didn't like them at all last year. And I've got big concerns on the offensive line. This is a team I'm going to watch a lot in the preseason. I want to see how that OL looks. If it looks decent, if it looks like they can protect Andy Dalton, the Bengals will be a legitimate choice to go over the total this year, even though I cashed a ticket betting them under their season win total last year.
All right, money time, play of the day. Back to Game 4, NBA Finals. Lou says, let it fly. You got nothing to lose. Chuck and duck. Over 228. Going to be a lot of fireworks in this one. The last game went over, and it should have been 250 points till the game died late. In that one, it'll be like a scrimmage in this one. Up and down, crazy pace as well, and a ton of threes. They shot 77 threes combined in Game 3. Probably go more than that coming up tonight. Have a good weekend. Teddy and Drew Martin have you next week. Teddy, live from SBR headquarters. That'll be a lot of fun. And I'll be back with someone else as Teddy goes on vacation. I'll take a week off. You're the best, Teddy. We will see you in 2 weeks, kid.
Yeah, man, it's a good time. Obviously, this is the time of year where we have to rest and recuperate and refresh. That being said, Sportsbet's going to be here for you right here at SBRpicks.com.